Welcome to SEC Football Live, brought to you by ML Rose here on the 440 Sports Network. That is Trey Wallace of Outkick, Outkick.com. I am Braden Gall, and this is the national semifinal Ole Miss Rebels edition, like we all planned, Trey. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I must have got on the wrong show. I thought it was the Indiana-Oregon preview. That's my bad.
We'll do that later.
It was just too man, it was so expensive. Actually, it wasn't that. It was just the turnaround, but whatever.
So we will get to Ole Miss's victory over Georgia. What does this mean for Georgia moving forward? What does the loss in the Rose Bowl to Indiana mean for Alabama and Kalen DeBoer moving forward? Is the SEC overrated, Trey? Is the Big Ten the best conference in college football? Are we seeing a permanent shift in the landscape, or is this just temporary and just a one-off because Kurt Signetti is an insane human being doing things that no human being has ever done before in college football? We will celebrate Trinidad Chambliss. We will discuss the matchup with Miami. We'll break down the Indiana-Oregon game as well. I'm going to avoid the portal.
Really? Really? You don't want to get into Damon Williams last night while Sam Levitt was at the LSU game?
I want all the dust to settle in the portal conversation before we do an entire episode breaking down exactly what has happened in the portal on this here episode. If you are listening on a podcast, we do appreciate you. Rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars only. If you do not give us 5 stars, you are a hater. If you are watching on YouTube, you will see 2 middle-aged white guys with backwards hats and sweatshirts on talking about college football. So make sure you watch us on YouTube and Twitter.
It's Lax Wednesday, so back off. I, for some reason, do not have media availability till 8:45 tonight.
Oh, Jesus.
For Indiana and Oregon.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. They want the kids to be locked in between, 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. or whatever.
No, they're getting on a plane late.
Oh, also that, yeah.
And then they're coming straight to Mercedes-Benz, and then Dan Lanning is not allowing Dante Moore to speak. But
no, he's not. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so ridiculous. That's going to go down tonight, and then we do have, from an Ole Miss standpoint, we do have the press conference this morning with Pete Golding, where I'm sure he's going to address whether Joe Cox, Dan Stevens, and other assistants are out there.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, I know. So
we'll get to that.
Pure wackiness going on.
All right, so let's. I want to get quick. Let's start with Ole Miss because I think Ole Miss is clearly the big in the SEC. It's clearly the big story, and frankly, Indiana Ole Miss as a national championship game would be largely unprecedented in the history of my career. We have not had a first-time national champion since 1996, and 3 of these would basically be first-time champions. Miami hasn't won one since 2001, so we do have a really interesting Final Four. But Ole Miss sort of the last SEC team standing, if that matters to anybody. But I think their story is really what's interesting here. Obviously, the Lane Kiffin of it all makes the story even more interesting. I think clearly they are galvanized. I also think this is a combination of all things, Trey. This is a very, very, very good Georgia team, but they don't have the same horses that even Miami has in the front 7, which is an atypical Georgia thing. Still very good. This is the Lane Kiffin part makes it an extraordinary story. Trinidad Chambliss is just a special player, and I think of the 4 quarterbacks left, I actually trust him the most to make the insane play. That 3-play sequence where he rolls around and flicks it backhanded, and this is in like the 3rd quarter. He rolls around like a wild man and completes the pass for a few yards down the field, gets a first down, I think, to Lacey on a dump off, and then rolls right and throws an absolute seed down the sideline over the hand of the defensive back. That was as extraordinary a sequence of plays as I've seen from any quarterback. Maybe I wish I had my Heisman vote back, put him on the ballot. I don't know what, I don't think what Ole Miss is doing is somehow teaching us about the future of college football, but I think it's an extraordinary story. And if they were somehow to win against Miami, which they are an underdog this week, I still think it's one of the greatest SEC stories ever told.
By the way, I don't quite understand the point margin from Vegas, but I do know that Miami has a ferocious front 7. So I kind of get that part from a defense standpoint. Yeah, dude. So I'm sitting there at the game last week, dude, and I'm watching this, and Ole Miss goes down, bro, and I'm like, all right, Georgia's about to put the hammer on this. And then all of a sudden, Ole Miss continues fighting back, the 4th down play from Kirby. And I'm not going to regurgitate everything that happened, but I will say, watching Trinidad scramble out of the backfield on that 3rd and 7 and hit Lacey, who took a shot and then got the first down. And then you had Trey Wallace that was balling like a mother during that game, which is great to see. Shout out to all the Trey Wallaces.
I was going to say.
It was weird, dude. I kept
Are you Trey Wallace the second? Is that what you are?
I'm the third. So I kept getting text messages in like my group chats. Like Bubba was texting me. He's like, there's a Trey Wallace on Ole Miss team. I was like, yeah, well, here's his real name. Like,
he's very good. He hadn't been watching. Bubba doesn't watch college football?
No, it's only like Tennessee. And
then
he
busy on the weekends this time of year?
He's got nothing going on. And then, but it was how it was. I'll leave it at this part, like on the play wise. When Trinidad and them saw man coverage down low and they hit Stribling along the sideline to put them in field goal range, I was like, damn, they figured it out. Like for that one time.
You're talking about on the final possession.
Yeah, on the final possession.
That was as beautiful a throw as I've seen all season.
And they just went like that. And so I give a lot of credit to Ole Miss, man. Like after the game, you could tell that it was a weight lifted off their back at the same time. And then the funniest part about it all, and I wrote about this, Lane, and I hate even bringing him up, but Lane tweeted something at the 6:50 mark of the third quarter. And he quote tweeted an LSU post, and it said, "It's different here." Okay. At the 6:50 mark of the third quarter. From that point, Ole Miss went on a 21-3 run.
No.
I wrote it in the story. Like literally when I saw it, I screenshotted it and timestamped it, and then look at the game. 21-3 run. And then Ole Miss ends up winning. And then Lane wanted to post pictures on social media to make it look like he was there when it was actually his son Knox that was taking the photos to make like you could make this shit up.
He's a good troll, man.
Yeah, dude. So like it was just the whole thing was wild, and I give a lot of credit to Ole Miss because that is a dang good Georgia football team.
Yeah,
and for them to win that game like they did, even Kirby said like that was one hell of a football game.
One of the best football games of the year, if not the best football game of the year.
You know what game it reminded me of, right?
Georgia, Tennessee.
No. It reminded me of Tennessee, Alabama in 2022 when Hendon Hooker hit Rue McCoy.
51-49
or whatever. It was kind of the same sequence where Trinidad hit Stribling.
I thought when Stockton hit Branch on the 4th and 9 on the smash route from the inside slot where like you can't even see Branch in the route, and Stockton throws a perfect pass. Gunnar Stockton played a really good football game, by the way. Not a great game, but that guy was beat all to hell.
Baller.
He was beat all to hell and kept coming back. Look, that throw.
He took a spear from Goldberg in the third quarter, and I was like, he's done.
When he looked decapitated in the SEC championship game last year when Texas took his head off. He's a tough kid, man. And that throw to Branch on 4th and 9, I was like, I don't remember how much time was left, but there was a few minutes left. They had the ball. They're down 3. And I'm like, I think it was down 3. I can't remember exactly what the score
there was around 4 minutes left. Yep.
And I'm like, I think they're gonna go in and win. And I think they ended up kicking a field goal in that possession. But the touchdown to Branch from Stockton, like it was a fantastic football game. Yes. Just great stuff all the way across the board. And again, give Ole Miss credit because now we have a Final Four that again is outside of Miami being a program capable of doing this in the past. This is unprecedented in the modern era. And Indiana Ole Miss would be a story that I could not have imagined telling college football fans 15 years ago. When I started this 20 years ago, if you'd have told me Indiana and Ole Miss will play for a national championship game, I would have asked you for a bag of whatever it is you were smoking. So,
well, I mean,
it's an insane thing, and Ole Miss gets the credit here. The players, I think most importantly, the players need to have all the credit on this for Ole Miss because the coaches, while they deserve, we'll talk about QC saying the Joe Judge comment.
Aaron Hernandez
on Ole Miss, where he said, basically, if you didn't see it, the assistant for Ole Miss who's going to LSU basically said, this has been a chaotic somebody asked about the chaos of the moment, and he said, this is basically the most chaotic time of my life, and I live next to Aaron Hernandez.
And then Neil
which is insane.
Yeah, then Neil McCready asked him to kind of follow up about his time in New England. He's like, it's kind of signed an NDA. I can't really talk about that. And just for clarity, Joe Judge is not leaving Ole Miss. He's the one staying. It's the other ones that are.
Oh, that's right. So I guess that's right. That's a good point. I forgot about that.
No, I just didn't want Ole Miss to freak out.
Good point. The issue, like what I'm trying to get across here, like I don't think Pete Gold, and I'm willing to be changed and have my opinion changed on this. I don't think Pete Golding is the long-term answer at Ole Miss. I don't think he's going to win national championships. I long-term, I don't think he is like he's not the reason they are here right now, in my opinion. Like the defense, if they make good plays and he does something right, I think this is about the players being galvanized around an extraordinary circumstance with some really supreme talent at quarterback and at running back and at receiver and like some good linebackers. Like I think this is a special situation that where the players have risen to the occasion. They've been galvanized by the Lane Kiffin thing and are out there busting their ass. The coaches get some credit, but like half these guys are distracted right now. So I think I just think the players deserve all the love and all the credit for what they're doing right now. And again, like if they beat Miami, it will yet again be an upset against the team that I think is going to line up and try to hit them in the face. Miami did it to Ohio State. They did it to A&M. They are extraordinarily physical. Neither of those teams, A&M and Ohio State, have a quarterback like Chambliss. So I don't. We can talk about the game here if you want to. I just think the players deserve all the credit. I'm not taking anything away from Golding or the staff. I just think the players get all the credit.
I don't disagree, obviously, about the players. I think for Pete Golding to be able to do what he has done over the last month and a half now since Thanksgiving weekend, while also handling the portal, while also handling getting these guys re-signed, while also handling the defense. Like I'm not saying that
I think the donors and the boosters have had a lot to do with
that.
No. Also galvanized around the loss of Lane Kiffin.
I agree with that, but I'll say this.
Hey, screw you, Lane. We're going to pull you up and pay.
I don't think these players would have stuck around if they didn't believe Pete Golding was the answer moving forward, at least for the next 2 years.
So I don't disagree with that. I think he's the answer in the short term.
Right.
I think the Brent Key thing. Just go with me on this journey. I think I think the Brent Key thing at Georgia Tech is gonna go south quickly.
Yes.
I think the conversation that he should be the guy at Auburn or the guy at Florida, like I thought that was comical. I like Brent Key. I have nothing against him, but I think he was the right guy at the right time, and there was a good roster in place with a good quarterback and a really good staff around him. Sound familiar? Like how many times do we see the Zach Arnett thing like do well in the short term and then peter out? Like we've seen this happen all the time. Interim coaches don't work. Outside of Dabo Swinney, they don't work.
I think
they're nice stories for a year or two. So I can be proven wrong on this, and I'm not, but I'm trying not to be a prisoner of the moment and let 2 games with special players change my opinion about a decision to hire people. That's all.
I'm not considering disagree fully with you. I do think it helps that he has Joe Judge next to him, and if Pete Golding can just be a good CEO and run the defense, but be a good CEO. You got an OC. Right now, you got an OC who's flying back. I think he was in Baton Rouge last night for Sam Levitt's journey. Who then all of a sudden found out while he was at a basketball game that, it looks like LSU's going after another quarterback. By
the way, just for the record, there is no legal way in this country, I don't believe, where you can force another human to work for you.
No. I'm going to tell you how that's going to happen. I'm going to give you a 30-second thing on how that's about to happen. If folks aren't caught up with it, Devin Williams from Washington, the quarterback, badass,
very good player,
signed a new contract with Washington 4 days ago. Last night at around 9:40, he put out a statement on Instagram saying he's going into the transfer portal. He just signed a fat NIL deal that was going to pay him above $5 million. Okay?
Reporting that it's the #1 quarterback deal in the country, highest paid quarterback in the country, supposedly.
All these agents can say that.
Sure.
Like what? But I agree. Yeah, I know. And then it caught Washington off guard. To make matters worse, like a lot of the Washington staff were at a funeral last night, a celebration of life for a former athlete. So whatever. It caught them off guard. They didn't know what was coming. And then this happens. And now what's going to transpire after talking to multiple sources about this last night, like they have these ironclad contracts pretty much, but what is really going to be the case, because you'll never be able to tell a judge that this player can't go play somewhere else. He is going to owe Washington what he makes through NIL over the next 2 years, in my opinion. And I think he's going to have to pay around, according to some people, about a $400,000 buyout to Washington. I think that's how it's
and if a player is worth $4 million a year, hypothetically, let's just ballpark it here.
Yeah.
A $400,000 buyout clause is nothing. I mean, that's like paying $4 million to go hire a coach from another team.
Well, what some people don't understand too right now, what's going on, and that's not, I don't mean that in like a condescending way, is that a lot of schools are paying the buyouts of players at other schools that are transferring there. Like DJ Lagway, he's got a fat buyout and a loan he's got to pay back to Florida that whichever school he signs with is going to help pay that back to Florida. So like This is just different because legally the kid just signed a contract.
See, now you're into the portal conversation.
I'm not. No.
What are these paint me a picture of what these coordinators are doing on a day-to-day basis this week for Ole Miss. The ones that are going to LSU.
Back and forth. Oh yeah, they're in meetings, transfer portal meetings on Zoom right after Ole Miss practice, and then if there's a visit worthy enough from being there, they hop on a private plane that is literally sitting at the Oxford airport for them to get down to Baton Rouge as quick as possible. Once the visits are done, they hop either back to Oxford, or they go to Phoenix. That's why Joe Judge last night didn't say that, yeah, all these coaches are going to be here, because I don't think they are. I think there's going to be 2 of them.
What's a private jet flight from Baton Rouge to Oxford? Like 30 minutes?
Yeah, I talked to my uncle last night.
28 minutes?
My uncle's a pilot, and I talked to him last night about how much that cost.
Well, the cost is insane.
He said it was about $18,000 every time they get on the plane to go back and forth.
The cost is nuts, but you could probably get from, I'm assuming,
30 minutes.
Campus to campus in less than 30 minutes. Yeah. It's
absolutely
pretty fast flight.
But it is wild to see. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, it is wild to see, like, Charlie Weiss. Like, even last night, I couldn't confirm it because it was late and I really didn't care that late. But that he was on campus last night when Sam Leavitt was there. And then also there might have been a Washington quarterback who was already in Baton Rouge, like, sneaking around the LSU facility.
I mean, if I'm Lane Kiffin paired with Damon Williams in LSU, that's pretty salty.
Do you know how I know we're not talking about portal, but I will
salty.
say this to kind of wrap this part up. Like, the fact that Sam Leavitt was the talk of the town, but then now they're starting to figure out maybe he's not going to work because of an injury. And we can't put out. Oh, and by the way, for all the Kentucky fans out there, that $5 to $6 million offer that you supposedly gave Sam Leavitt, that was not true, and that was by about $2.5 million.
Okay. So, ain't no loyalty in this world, Trey.
No,
coaches, universities, players, agents, it don't matter. Ain't no loyalty in this world. Either way, Ole Miss, unbelievable story. Congrats to the players and to the team. And honestly, like, Miami is objectively an easy team to root against. Like, they are an objectively unlikable team. Their players are really likable. Ruben Bain and Malachi Toney. Like, Carson Beck is not at all, of course. Look, I think Miami's going to win, but I think that's because they're so physical. And so I think it does. I'm going to oversimplify the game real fast, which is Miami's going to do what they've done each of these last 2 games, which is line up and beat the shit out of you on defense and hit you until you stop coming. The problem is Trinidad Chambliss can just do a bunch of wild stuff.
He can do it a hell of a lot better than Marcel Reed and Julian Sayin.
Yes, no question. But I think
but 15 sacks over 2 games for Miami's defense. Dude. Holy hell.
Well, and that is why they are favored. I think when you go position group by position group, line up and play the game in this type of game where the game possessions get more magnified, every throw gets magnified, every third down is magnified. A team that is consistently great on defense is almost always going to be sort of, I don't want to say favored, but like that's why Miami is the 3.5-point favorite. I would take both underdogs in these games, frankly, with points. If I'm betting, I would take Oregon and I would take Ole Miss to bet.
How much is I'm sorry to enter. How much was Miami favored by again?
I think it's 3.5 and then 4. I mean, basically it's the same point spread, which is
really gamble in this stupid state that I'm in right now because these stupid lawmakers won't pass online gambling. So I had to place my bets for across the state border line.
I am so excited just to sit back and watch both these games this week because I really don't have any clue what's going to happen. I'm going to pick Oregon in upset later in the show, and I'm going to pick Miami with the win because I think but like I have no idea, and I cannot wait to see what they do with Chambliss and those weapons against this because Marcel Reed's good, Julian Sayin's good. The weapons for Ohio State are better, but they don't have the running game. They don't have the Lacey as a player in the backfield. Like A&M doesn't have these weapons, although their 2 receivers are pretty good too.
And they also don't have a kicker with the balls the size of grapefruits.
Well, that's also true. So I can't wait for the game. I'm going to take Miami, but I don't feel good about it. I don't, previews aren't necessarily what we do on this show. We try to talk through what it all means. And so I want to get to what it all means, Trey, because we can celebrate Ole Miss. Let's celebrate Ole Miss. I want to know first, let's start with Georgia, because I think this is actually really easy.
Yeah.
What does this mean for Georgia? All it does is it says what we thought at the beginning of the year about all of college football, which is it's wide open and there's no clear-cut elite number 1 team. This was a very good Georgia team. This was not an elite Georgia team.
No.
They're a little bit better, I think, than they were last year to some degree. maybe not as talented in the front
Offensive
set.
line.
Maybe not as talented on the defense either this year.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a better quote unquote team. Frankly, they're SEC champs. They made it to the Final 8. They were within one throw. If Shambles doesn't make that throw down the sideline or any of the other plays he makes, Georgia wins that game and they're playing in the semis. And I think they would be a heavy favorite. I think we would all pick them to beat Miami. So I don't think
fun storyline.
Yeah, right. No kidding with Carson. I don't think you didn't. To me, Georgia don't overreact to anything. I think this is just one of those moments where you got by a really good player and a pretty good program and a really good team. So I don't think there's anything there for Georgia. Do you have any sweeping takeaways from Georgia's loss?
I feel like what you're. By the way, I agree with what you're saying about Georgia, but I will say this: we are now in a time where Georgia cannot stack their 2 deep with 5 stars any longer, and you're having to. I don't want to say go through the gauntlet, but what you're having to do is if you can, outshine the first string at certain positions, you don't have somebody. You see them get like somebody that can come in immediately and just take over in a game and whatnot. Like that's what Georgia might, but that's just where we're at in college athletics, folks. Period. So I don't think Georgia has anything to worry about. There were some folks that wanted to go, Kirby, go take the Atlanta Falcons. Stop, man. Like Kirby Smart is the best coach in college football. And until Kurt Signetti wins a national championship, maybe we can start having a different conversation about that. But at the same time, I do feel like we are in a spot now where Georgia is just fine in the SEC moving forward, because I only think there are maybe 3 or 4 teams that are going to be able to keep up with them.
Yeah. I have one thought about Georgia's quarterback offensive position, and I don't know if it's right or not, but there's been a lot of debate with Georgia fans versus the internet.
Yeah, I know.
About the quote-unquote evolution of the Kirby Smart offense. Yep. That is a debate that we've had on this show with our former hosts. That's a debate I've had on the show with you. That's a debate we've had with all Georgia fans who listen. They're fed up with the when will Kirby Smart evolve the offense? I actually think that conversation is overrated.
Yes.
I think with Gunnar Stockton, they were pretty evolved. They were pretty advanced. I think with Mike Bobo, he is a traditional play caller with traditional schemes. I think what's different is Kirby Smart's mentality as a head coach, in that he leans towards a certain type of style of quarterback and offense and approach to the game. And I wonder if they tweak that at all to try to go get the rock star quarterback who can do the things. Because here's the thing. We can say that Ole Miss was a genius, that Lane Kiffin is a genius, and then they got Trinidad Chambliss. He was not their plan as a starting quarterback.
So they're playing as a starting quarterbacks at Missouri now.
So this was not the thing that they planned on. So they don't get they get credit for finding him, but it's like a team drafting Tom Brady. Like the Patriots also passed on Tom Brady 5 times that year in the draft. Like they weren't.
Trinidad was making 3.5 this year, and Chambliss was making 300.
Austin Simmons, you mean? Yeah.
Austin Simmons. Yeah, I'm sorry. Austin Simmons was making 3.5.
They got lucky. And
it worked out. Like you had to have a backup plan, which is the same reason why Ole Miss is bringing DJ Lagway on campus.
Do you think Georgia and Kirby Smart and the quarterback position, like, because if you look at these quarterbacks, they're all cut from the same cloth. Like, do they need to tweak this at all, or is this just again one random great game by a team that they beat earlier in the year in a special moment, in a special time, with a crazy galvanized locker room? Or does it actually tell you anything? Like, do they need to actually change anything, or are they good? I think they're good.
What are they trying to do, Braden? I mean, are they trying to run Todd Monken's offense here? I mean, you can't go 5 wide all the time. That's not Georgia. I mean, Georgia's just going to run the ball. They're going to
but Todd Monken doesn't run 5 wide. He runs.
No, I know that, but there were times where they really spread it out, I think, a good amount. Like I go back to the Bama-Georgia national championship game in Indy, a few years ago, and what they were able to do down the field. Like I just didn't think you saw enough downfield passing from Georgia this year. And I'm not talking 20 yards across middle. I'm talking testing them deep.
Well, their best player.
They don't have to do that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is, do they need to start doing that?
I don't know. Right. I know what you're getting at. I don't think so, because what we've seen out of them works. Like if they have to go fast, they'll go fast. And I agree. And Gunnar Stockton is a really good quarterback who's going to come back next year as one of the top guys in the SEC. And
Yeah.
They got
he'll be
the
lone returning starting quarterback in the conference or whatever.
Yeah, you got
I think Branch
and you're running the football.
Zachariah Branch, really good player, already declared for the draft. The fact that he set the single season receptions record and averaged like 9 yards a catch in the playoffs is sort of like kind of what's your point. That's kind of your point. Really good player, huge on third downs, explosive after the catch. Like I love Zachariah. Like I want to draft Zachariah Branch, but not exactly a down the field threat. They had a bunch of down the field threats last year that could not catch the football because they just drop passes like that. But here's the thing, you go back and think about that 22 Georgia team, and you look at the defensive and offensive depth charts, and like you don't see any of those guys. There's no like I can't remember who was on which team, but like the Jordan Davises and the Jalen Carter and the Brock Bowers and the Ladd McConkey and like the Kobe Dean and like those guys are all starting star NFL players.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if they're just. I think what we're seeing is modern college football impact the 2 and the 3 deep for programs like Georgia, which is why we can get to Alabama here. ML Rose. ML Rose, by the way, 7 great locations, soon to be 8 in Murfreesboro. Great burgers, great beers, great wing specials. I went on Saturday with my fam. We had some wings and some waffle fries and some thick ranch with 2 C's. It was delicious. So make sure you go check out ML Rose. Great beer specials, 2-for-1s on Thursdays and Saturdays and Sundays. You can watch all the playoff football, NFL and college, coming up this week at ML Rose. Quickly in the comment section, Rebels all the way. Our kicker warms up from the 50. He's good at 75. And you can't plan for Trinidad Chambliss. Indiana and Ole Miss in the Natty. Nathan, I think that's the best story here. I don't know what the best game would be. Question is, can Miami survive a shootout with the Rebels? I think they can based on Ole Miss's defense.
I don't want to see Indiana versus Miami in the national championship.
Okay. You think Miami wins the game?
No, I don't think Miami's offense can keep up with Indiana.
You think it's a blowout? Okay.
No, I don't want to say a blowout. I'm just saying if Indiana scores 24 points, I don't see Miami doing it.
All right, Bama.
Yeah, trouble.
So Kalen DeBoer under a ton of pressure for next year. Ty Simpson has this extraordinary roller coaster ride of a season, and I don't know what he's going to do next. I don't think he's announced anything yet. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back to the home state of Tennessee, by the way.
Miami.
Sounds like he's going to Miami, according to you.
No, I'm just throwing out school.
But he at one point was the first quarterback in the draft during the middle of the season. Yeah. At the beginning of the season, he was terrible. And then at the end of the season, he wasn't as good. I think he just got stuck behind a bad offensive line that, for whatever reason, did not live up to its potential and could not run the football. But here's the thing for Alabama. They got great receivers, but like Ryan Williams was overrated. The running game, those running backs, I don't see the star Alabama players. This is sort of what we're saying about Georgia, which is the depth just isn't there anymore. That is not a Kalen DeBoer problem.
No.
That is a college football NIL portal era problem. And Nick Saban saw it clearly. And we can't say out of one side of our mouth, well, clearly Nick Saban's retiring because he doesn't want to deal with this modern era of football. And then at the same time say expectations for Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State to some degree, they still get to be the same. They still get to be that you can be the best program in America by stockpiling 5 stars on your 3 deep. You can't say that because it doesn't exist anymore. So what do we do? How do we evaluate Kalen DeBoer in Alabama moving forward?
I think there's been some coaching decisions this year. I think there have been some I think Ryan Grubb got in over his head a little bit this year with some of the play calling. I think at the same time, when you're not able to continue to progress your offensive line throughout the season, to me, that stands out as a problem. I do understand injuries. I get it, blah, blah, blah. I didn't see enough out of Alabama offensively to make me feel like this is going to be a team that's going to somehow turn the corner next year. Look, Alabama shouldn't even, this is just my personal opinion. I don't, whatever, how it played out. But Alabama shouldn't even have been in the spot to get their ass whipped by Indiana in the Rose Bowl because Oklahoma just fumbled the ball in the second half and gave them the opportunity to go play in the Rose Bowl.
Pick 6. Yeah.
Just my opinion. I think Ty Simpson, I'm going to try to phrase this the right way. I think it would do him greatly to go finish his college career somewhere else.
Okay, why? Because I think the opposite. I think you got young receiver that's talented. You got a second year in the system as a starting quarterback. That is the normal way to get better in college football.
I'm not putting this on Ty Simpson. I think he needs a new offensive coordinator.
Okay.
I think he needs a new offensive coordinator that wants to stretch the field out is more often than trying to run the football.
What's so weird is that is what Michael Penix did well at Washington.
I know that, but they're not doing
field.
it at Alabama. They were not this year, man. Like, I might be able to count on one hand, maybe two hands, how many times they actually stretch the field 30, 40-yard gains down the sideline. And I can't put all that on Ryan Williams because a lot of folks got infatuated by a crazy miracle like ghost catch during the 2024 season and how spectacular he was. But at the same time, maybe it's Ryan Grubb needs another year and they'll figure it out with Ty. But
this is what's weird for me. I have this brain, this college.
And I'm not
football.
trying to bash Ryan. I'm not.
No. I have college football brain that tells me I have a coach and a coordinator who have a proven track record of being really good at this thing. I have a talented quarterback who I think is going to be pretty good at this thing that he does.
Yes.
At a program with a roster that, while it is not as good as Nick Saban's dominant Alabama teams, I don't think any team will be that in the future. It's still one of the more talented teams in the country. Why is that not a thing to run back? And why is that not your best option than trying to I realize that in the portal era, we can bring people in and all of a sudden be good. But that is so much harder. If you have good people that are talented at the thing they are being asked to do, to come back and gain experience from having a really good team this year. 10 wins in the playoff, won a playoff game on the road. Why not have that group run it back? I don't get it. That is how you get better.
Do you really think? Here's the problem: Alabama fans,
I don't care,
are still living in the Saban era, and y'all got to move the frick on, man. Like, I'm sorry, you can't. We are in an era right now where Ole Miss and Indiana are playing in the national semifinals, and you're going to see this kind of parity moving forward, especially when we move to 16 teams.
Right.
And it ain't going to happen every year, guys. Like, sure, you might be able to make the playoff every year, but you're not going to see three-peat dynasties like Georgia. You know, I even Alabama in the past. Like, I just feel like, and I'm going to throw one back at you. If Alabama were to lose to Oklahoma, would Kalen DeBoer be the head coach in Tuscaloosa right now?
I think you would, yeah. Josh says, what if DeBoer wants to move on to the 5-star quarterback he's recruited? Look, that could be the Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts thing. There's no question about that. That's the problem is we've seen a lot of those moments. Frankly, Oklahoma did it. They said, Dylan Gabriel, peace out. We want Jackson Arnold. How did that go? That was a dumpster fire, and Oregon was the number 1 team in the nation last year.
You're literally risking your coaching job by making that move. If you move off, if you say Ty Simpson in some way, you're not forcing him out or anything like that. But you say, hey, man, this is going to be an open competition going in the spring. And you're maybe not trying to nudge him out, but you're putting this is it. 2026 is it. You get one more shot at this, and then Alabama's going to go out and find another coach.
Look, I'm not saying that there's not – I agree with you. I'm not saying there's anything like that. There is something missing with DeBoer relative to Saban. But I think there's something missing from every coach relative to Saban. So the question is, how much of that is the era and the new version of the sport? Because unfortunately, Alabama fans, and I think this is the same for Georgia or Texas or Ohio State, whoever's been used to being great, has to, and this is what we're about to talk about with the Big Ten SEC thing. The fan bases have to come to grips with more parity in the sport. It is good. It is good for the game. It is good for the sport. It is bad for the teams that have been stockpiling championship rosters for the last 40 years. And Alabama fans and Georgia fans need to come to grips with that. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if Alabama fan can do that. But it means that if you go 10-2 again next year and lose in the first round of the playoffs, let's say, so 3 straight years where you went, basically you were a playoff team, and you fire the coach because it's not good enough, you have to ask yourself very honestly in a private moment, staring at the mirror in your bathroom, can we actually hire a coach that can do more than that? How many guys can do more than that? And I think there are some, but not many.
3.
What?
And they're not leaving their schools. 3 coaches that can do it right now, in my opinion.
Oregon, Ohio State, and
Curt Cignetti.
I mean, I would put.
I
might put Marcus Freeman in that list too.
I could throw Kirby in there. I could throw Marcus.
Right, Kirby's in there. Yeah, I'm just saying that there's 4 to 6 guys that can do it, and they ain't leaving, even for Alabama. So
if the Alabama job opened up next year, and Dan Lanning was out there, Dan Lanning wouldn't go back to Alabama.
No, he turned down the job last time.
I know. That's kind of where I'm.
That's not a knock on. This is the thing. It's not a knock on Bama. It is a new reality.
I mean, Michigan just had to settle for Kyle Whittingham.
Settle? I think he's the best coach that was hired.
I'm not. I knew you would take that comment. I think Kyle Whittingham is a fantastic hire for Michigan. I'm saying that he was not their first choice to be the coach, or their second choice.
I think the fact that they landed Kyle Whittingham in the middle of a total scandal is insanely positive for Michigan.
Absolutely.
All right, so Mr. Exodus does it here, and this is what we're getting at. As an Auburn fan and 100% complete SEC homer, I can say without a doubt that the last 2 years the Big Ten has been head and shoulders above the SEC. So this is ultimately the question. I said for years on this show, when a third different team from the Big Ten wins a national championship, that is when you can start to say the Big Ten is better than the SEC. Well, we are 1 win away from that because there will be a Big Ten team in the national championship game, either Indiana or Oregon, and they are not Ohio State or Michigan. I don't care about this. I don't care about the cheating at Michigan for this conversation because there's a lot of teams in the SEC that cheated and won a national title. I don't really care about that. What I am getting at here is a true and no one in their right mind would have said it would be Indiana.
No.
Oregon is a very good program. Now, if you want to say through context of this argument and say, well, that's a Pac-12 team with Big Ten money, I'm fine with that. But guess how the world works now? That's how the world works. I don't think that the SEC is overrated. I think the SEC is very, very good. I think the coaches are solid. I think the quarterback play was not what we expected this year, but still better in other areas. I think there are really good programs with really good teams with lots of resources that are going to be competitive and making playoff runs all across the SEC. It is not overrated.
God, please stop referencing bowl games like the Gasparilla Bowl and the Independent. Nobody gives a shit.
I watched 3/4 of a non-playoff game this year, and that's because I took my kids to Nissan Stadium and we watched it in person. And I paid $0, and it was 3 miles from my house. That's how committed I am to going to my team's bowl game. My point is that I don't think Vanderbilt, best season in history. Texas, even though it was a huge disappointment, was two or three spots from the playoff and won 9 games. Arch Manning going to be better next year. Tennessee in a down year, won 8 games.
And they could have either Sam Levitt or Ty Simpson as their quarterback next
year. Ole Miss is the best it's ever been. You could argue Missouri right now is in a stretch of years where it is one of the best eras of its program's history. We can go Auburn down.
South Carolina gets talent back next year. I know they didn't look good this year,
right.
But they get talent back.
Almost made the playoff last year. Auburn down this year. Arkansas down. LSU lost a few games, fired coaches. Florida down. There are teams that are down, no question.
Sorry, A&M, Arkansas, you ain't coming out of
A&M may be the best season in school history. Oklahoma made the playoffs with a coach that was on the hot seat and an insanely difficult schedule. The argument that the SEC is overrated is stupid to me. It's not bared out by any facts. That doesn't mean it's been better than the Big Ten. And you got to give credit to the Big Ten for, I think what it is, and I don't think, as somebody who grew up in a Big Ten family and kind of has covered the nation, but I'm like an SEC person now, I think this is the perfect explanation of Big Ten mindset. And that is, until it's legal, we're not going to do all the things it takes to win. Because they choose to stand on their moral high ground. It's kind of like Notre Dame. And I think now that they know it's legal to pay all these players above board, they're fine opening the coffers of the wealthiest conference in America. They happen to hire Curt Cignetti. That's it. That's a random occurrence. Cignetti is a one-of-one story that does not exist any other time or moment in place.
Indiana might have the biggest budget of all of them.
So this is Big Ten stability and money finally being utilized efficiently and effectively to compete with the SEC. And we are seeing it for the first time. And I think it's because the Big Ten wasn't willing ever to, quote unquote, break the rules to do it. And now where you're located geographically, 6-hour radius around your campus means less, which frankly means programs like Nebraska and Wisconsin should be very good. And I think Michigan State's going to be better. So we shall see. We shall see. But I think the Big Ten, if they win another national championship with a third different team, that is what made the SEC elite for all those years, was they had 6 different national title winners. Tennessee in 98. Then you had LSU. Then you had Florida. Then you had, Alabama. Then you had Auburn. Then, like, Georgia. When you have that many different programs winning national championships, that is what makes you great. All the NFL players in the SEC, they won the draft like 18 years in a row with more players drafted.
Yeah, the freaking Georgia roster plays for the Eagles right now.
Right. So I'll get out of your way here and you can go with this.
No.
But I think this is finally. I don't think it's just Michigan or Ohio State being great. They're always very good. The fact that you could have a third team named Indiana or Oregon win a national championship is what makes this era different for the Big Ten.
Guys, Washington was about to pay their about to pay their quarterback $5.5 million next year. Like, the money's there for these schools now. And right. I think that you're not having to do it the half-ass way or the backwards way by, dropping bags off at the back doorstep, because you've got more funnel money compared to what the Big Ten was ready to spend below board. So I just feel like right now you're starting to see the Big Ten, Braden, in a sense of when it comes to the financials that they're willing to spend. And then second of all, when it comes to the talent that they are willing to put out there, and you can go yell at your dog anytime you want to shut up. But I'm just saying, I think that when you also Michigan spending, Ohio State spending, Indiana spending, you're going to see Michigan State is going to spend a lot of money. Obviously, with what Kurt Cignetti and them are doing, I could go on and on. Oregon's doing their thing. Washington, they're stacking. And what they're doing is they're spending the money, like you said, that in years past, schools in the SEC were spending to get ahead of things. You can no longer stockpile talent. You can't have a 2 deep full of 5 stars. So I think that when you're spacing it out and these players don't care about going 6 hours away from home, that's where you're starting to see now the Big Ten's dipping into a lot. So this is where we're at. Get used to it. I mean, Texas Tech is out here throwing billboards in Times Square, spending a lot of money on quarterbacks. So just, parity is where we're at now. And I'm telling you, I'll end it with this part. If Indiana or Oregon wins a national championship, the offseason narrative around Tony Petitti and what the Big Ten is doing in this CFP format, there's a lot more at stake, by the way, than just a national championship in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm talking more about a traditional Big Ten SEC North-South rivalry, which I've always thought is like a really it's like simultaneously one of my favorite parts of the game and also one of my least favorite parts of the game, because it's just kind of stupid. It doesn't mean anything. But also, like, I get it. I love that there's stupid, meaningless things in college football that make us like really insane, like the way rivalries work and conferences and geography, etc. QC says the SEC being overrated comment to me just comes from how ESPN always shills for them, just like how Fox always does for the Big Ten. I don't think it comes from just a broadcast network shilling for its business partner. I think there is a very North-South rivalry thing to college football that exists very deeply in people for a lot of.
You want to go look at it? Go look at the Heisman voting from this past year.
Right. Tornado says before they paid players and had control over them to stay quiet. Now they all pay players and universities don't have control. Yep, exactly. I think this is correct here. Mr. Exodus says, I heard someone say it made sense. I heard someone say this and it made sense. SEC teams have big donors that own car dealerships. Big Ten teams have car manufacturers as big money guys. And this is what I would say. There are more people in Chicago in one city than are in like 6 out of the 9 states in the SEC.
Right.
The population base, the alumni base, and the TV ratings have always been bigger and better for the Big Ten. Always been that way. It's never not been that way. They just never knew how to leverage it properly.
They know how to spend it. Indiana is now taking back $100 bills. Spend it.
Right. And now they know how to leverage it.
Period.
And the SEC was always better at leveraging it. And that's what the it just means more thing has always meant. It's just like, no, we know how to take our money and waste it better than you.
Yes. And by the way, once the Big Ten decided they wanted to play the game, what they did was they found all them big boosters that were sitting on the sideline, waiting to get involved with college football. Right. They in college football now.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the Big Ten or the SEC is the best conference on any given year or during any given period of time. What matters is competitive balance. That is what I've always wanted. I've wanted great, like for good brain power, for really talented people who work really hard to be able to find success. And so if you're a really talented guy and you can go to Indiana and find success, now you have a chance to win the whole thing. If you're a super talented coach and you go to Auburn, you can now find success. I mean, not that Auburn, that's a bad example. Maybe Kentucky is a better example, or Arkansas, or, whatever. The idea is that the playing field is a little bit more level, and that, again, like, do I personally find it more difficult to connect with my own personal team on Saturdays? Maybe. But like, I'm okay to retrain my brain and reevaluate how I think about this stuff.
I got breaking news for you while we're live on the show. Just got a text message from a buddy. Ty Simpson, just let Kalen DeBoer know and Ryan Grubb, he was going pro.
Okay. I mean, I'm not surprised. He's a late first-round pick probably if he tests really well at the combine.
And I didn't mean to like cut you off and all that.
No, you're good.
Since we're live on there. Yeah.
I mean, again, like, I think Simpson is I think he's a very talented, kind of polished, pro-ready player. I think he's going to excel in the NFL because I think the college stuff it's too dependent on other pieces. Does that make sense sometimes?
Yeah.
Because in college, you have to be an athlete.
He didn't want to do a Quinn Ewers either, in my opinion.
Quinn Ewers looked good for Miami, actually.
But games. you know what I'm talking about, though. Leave one school, go play one more year somewhere else, and then blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. The Carson Beck.
Right.
Mark Cuban, Phil Knight, Warren Buffett, etc. Big Ten has some big boys willing to put more money in now. Warren Buffett is a Big Ten fan? Is he a Nebraska guy? Is he a Nebraska Cornhuskers fan?
Buffett. Well, if he is, he's screwing them out of quarterbacks left and right.
He's Omaha for sure, but I didn't think he was. I didn't. And Cuban is Cuban's Indiana.
Quarterback go to Kentucky.
Cuban's Indiana. Phil Knight is Oregon, of course. And again, this is what makes this.
And Larry Ellison's girlfriend is Michigan.
Right, and they are building something in Nashville. What's interesting is I don't want my brain to do this, but this is what I do. Like, Phil Knight is a rare one-of-one thing that helped elevate Oregon from middle class to upper class. Curt Cignetti is a rare one-of-one thing that I don't think you can just take Phil Knight away from Oregon and take Curt Cignetti away from Indiana and replicate anything that they've done. I don't think you can. What I need to see is Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan State. Right. I want to see in one of these sort of like stable yet dependable upper middle class programs in the Big Ten, the way I would describe like Ole Miss, frankly.
Yep.
I want to see them excel at the national championship level, because I've seen really, really good Michigan State, Wisconsin, and Iowa teams never, ever, ever finish the deal. They've never been good enough to finish the deal. They can go 11-1, they can go 12-0, but they can't finish the deal either in a championship game or a playoff setting. And so until I see that, I'm still a little hesitant here. Penn State, I think, is totally capable and will be fine. USC, totally capable and will be fine. But like Washington has not gotten over the hump. They got close.
Did you say USC?
Yeah, USC. What I mean is, like, USC is a championship caliber program that has shown us that they can do it.
Foundation standpoint, yeah, because if the Lincoln stuff ain't working in 2026, bye-bye 4 games into the season.
But what I'm saying is I've seen USC compete for national championships and win them
and in my lifetime. They got the donor base, too, to make it happen.
Iowa goes 12-0, they go to the Orange Bowl, or they lose in the Big Ten championship game. Wisconsin with Russell Wilson can't get over the hump. They lose one game. Michigan State with Kirk Cousins can't get over the hump. Even Michigan State with, why am I drawing a blank on the quarterback that got them into the playoff? In 2016? Was it Connor Cook? Yeah, the 22-play drive against.
Damn, I just pulled that out of my.
That was good. That's good. I think like none of those teams were ever good enough. Washington that same year got into the playoff and got beat by Bama. None of them were ever good enough to get over the hump.
Yes.
And so what I'm curious about is when I start to see that stuff happen, because I think Indiana is Cignetti, and I think Oregon is a combination of Phil Knight and building a brand really, really smartly over the last 20 years and hiring good coaches. I think Oregon's way more sustainable, to be honest. So I don't know.
I think
I don't know.
Oregon's not going to have a problem going 6 years straight, doing the same thing and winning. You know what I mean by that? Like, I don't think they fall off for a year.
I agree.
That's one thing with Oregon compared to some other teams. Like,
and Mr. Exodus, you're correct. I misspoke on Auburn, because every coach at Auburn has either been undefeated or won a national title. Up until Brian Harsin, basically. So, yes, I agree with what you're saying. You absolutely can win a national championship at Auburn. No question about that. 2000, obviously
Don't
2010.
tell the Auburn fans.
Terry
that,
Bowden
right?
was great.
Shit.
Tommy Tuberville had an undefeated season. Like, I hear you. So again, I think that's the difference between like old Big Ten analysis. That was a lot of like wish casting by Big Ten fans. Oh yeah, we're as good as the SEC. SEC's overrated. Like, no, that's never been true. I think it's far more true that the Big Ten is on a level playing field with the SEC, not that the SEC is overrated. I think the Big Ten deserves credit for what they're accomplishing. Signetti and Knight.
I just think that's such an easy cop-out answer, best way to put it, because the SEC has one team in, and it's Ole Miss right now. I think it's easy to say, oh my God, they're overrated. Look at them going forward. I think
like
that if Big Ten wins national championship this year, there's going to be some private meetings between Sankey and some ADs saying, hey, boys, you remember what we did in basketball about 7 years ago?
That's right.
Yeah, let's do that again for football.
Right. And so, it's just going to be it goes right back to the arms race that used to be facilities. Like when we got started in this business, it was all facilities. Who has the tallest waterfall? Who's got the coolest locker rooms? How much money can you spend on your campus? Athletic directors used to tell me, if there's no crane in the air, you ain't doing your job. And it's the same thing. It's going to become an arms race, but it's going to be about rosters and it's going to be about players, which it already has. So again, I think it's good for the game that we have more parity and there's more teams capable of doing what we're seeing Ole Miss and Indiana try to do this week. I think it's great. I think it's great for the game. I got no problems with it.
You talking about facilities? When Brendan Sorsby committed to Texas Tech and he wanted to cite the great facilities as one of the reasons why.
Right.
Bruh, you don't have to do this anymore. Okay.
Not anymore. No.
You can say it was because of the money and a shot to win the national championship. I don't need to know how good your damn weight room is. Like, I don't care. Like,
okay, so interesting question.
Points are flowing off the chart.
Interesting question here. Sure, the NIL and transfer portal this is BH Lozek says transfer portal has led to other conferences and programs catching up on the SEC, but the bigger issue is the coaching staffs are not as good and as dynamic as they used to be. I don't know if I'm fully on board with that. I think like Brian Kelly was a pretty good coach for most of his career, didn't work. At LSU. LSU's expectations are real high. Kalen DeBoer, great coach at Indiana, Fresno State, and Washington. Tougher job at Alabama. I don't know. What do you make of that?
So who's got the tougher job?
No. Like, do you believe that the coaching staffs are the issue with the SEC?
I don't think so. Like I
don't think so either.
I think what you're seeing from a defensive side for some schools could be changed up a little bit. If we go top to bottom, maybe the Big Ten made a bigger stride when it comes to coaches in the offseason with hires, but it's not because there wasn't a lot of spots. Like I'm trying to go head to head with head coaches right now in my mind between the Big Ten and the SEC. I don't think
the Big Ten is better, but that doesn't mean
right
that the SEC is bad.
But no. Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think you're going to see some kind of, I don't want to say resurgence, but I think
there's multiple Big Ten coaches that need to be fired today.
That's exactly right. Thank you. That's exactly right. Yes, I agree completely.
At programs that could consider themselves playoff contenders in the future. So,
yes, okay.
Wisconsin, namely.
Yes.
So here's the other one. Exodus says, like, I would argue that players jumping ship after one season don't allow themselves to be developed. I get what you're saying there. You're not wrong about that. I do think that there's a pushback coming at some point on the amount of movement that's happening. No one should think this doesn't make you an old grandpa yelling at clouds, Trey, to say that it's not good for anyone for a player to play at 3 schools in 3 years or 4 schools in 4 years. There's no way that's good for the player or for the college or for the coaching staff. And so figuring out how to make like 1 or 2 transfers over a 5-year period maybe be effective, I think that's okay. Certainly 1 transfer, absolutely everyone should be allowed to do. The question is, what do the rules, what rules are put in place to help mitigate some of the movement, I think is going to be an interesting question.
You're going to have to, you don't want to end up in a courtroom, but you're going to have to figure out a way to get around the money. Here's the thing. It's the money aspect of it all, because if they throw out, let's just say you get 2 times a transfer. Okay. So I would agree with that it ain't the CSC, it's the NCAA, but if you have 2 times a transfer, and it also depends on like I think we get a ruling. I don't know if let me rephrase it. I don't know if we get a ruling next week, but I know it gets in front of a judge, the redshirt rule that's about to come down, and also the 5-5 rule. That this could be a spot where college football, you stop seeing so many, and you also sign 2-year deals with schools compared
That's right.
to
That's
you see what I'm getting at here, compared to these 1-year little off contracts. You sign 2-year deals, and it keeps these kids here. That's what I think they could change.
Josh says, I'm all for players' rights, but that pendulum has swung too far. I tend to agree with that. Collective bargaining is actually the only way to do this, and you need a centralized governing body. You and I have talked about this. There's no way that the SEC or the Big Ten give up that power right now. They may be forced to by, I don't know, congressional legislation, but that group of people is insane and incapable of doing anything right now. And so I don't know when this happens, probably around 2030, 2031, when the grant of rights for the ACC runs out and all the new television contracts are being negotiated. There could be another round of like, how do we make the sport more stable? And so I do think athletic directors are coming around on this trade that are going to put pressure on Sankey and Petiti in the Big Ten, where the athletic directors are like, this amount of movement isn't good for anybody. It's not good for the player. It's not good for the team. And I'm not saying that to be like anti-player movement rights here. I'm pro-player on this. But I do think that once you negotiate it, and you negotiate, hey, we can have one transfer in our first 2 years and then one transfer in the last 3 years, something like that, right? And you can sign 2 and 3 year contracts with schools, and they work just like every other contract in professional or pseudo-professional sports. I think we'll have a more stable product, and that could be very good while still having the talent dispersed around the country with more balance across the sport.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And would you, on the way out, would you like an update
on Ty Simpson?
No, on the Ole Miss LSU coaching saga?
Please.
Pete Golding is speaking right now.
Oh, do you need to go?
No. Pete Golding says Joe Cox and George McDonald are the 2 offensive coaches who will not be with Ole Miss for this Fiesta Bowl. He says, do they want to be here? Damn right they do. But also notes that LSU has 35 players in the portal, and they have jobs they're being paid to do.
What kind of impact on the team?
Charlie Weiss, Kevin Smith, and offensive line coach Joey Garrison are the only LSU bound coaches here with Ole Miss for the Fiesta Bowl. I don't think I
don't know if it affects him in this game. It could affect him in the next game.
That's what I'm getting at. I don't think it's too much here, to be honest with you. Like, I'm sorry, your passing game coordinator, I'm not particularly worried about when you have your offensive coordinator. And as for the running backs coach, okay. That running backs coach's one job was to get Kewan Lacey's ass to Baton Rouge, and he's staying in Oxford. So Kevin Smith could just
peace out,
go on and do his thing now. You lost the plot, bro.
All right, last one here. I'll let you go because I'm taking Miami. You're taking Ole Miss, but honestly, I don't have any idea. Indiana, Oregon. It is insane to pick against Indiana, but I think this Oregon team is special, and I don't know why. And I think they can play any style of game. I think they have every position group on the field has got talent on it. They can match up and play an ugly, dirty, physical game, low scoring with Indiana. They don't have a problem with that. They can play a high scoring game that Ole Miss wants to play. They can do anything. They've got the star quarterback. They've got star talent everywhere. They've got a coach who has been so good. The only losses by Oregon in the last 3 seasons were to either a team that won the national championship last year, Ohio State, a team that played in the national championship game, Washington, on like last minute plays 2 years ago, or the only undefeated number 1 team in the nation this year, Indiana. And they've already seen this Indiana team. I'm taking the Ducks in the upset.
Why are you mean?
We disagree in the Miami game.
I'm looking at my picks right now. I've got Ole Miss beating Miami, but I have Oregon.
I know.
With the flying V beating Indiana.
I'm the same way, and
I
don't like it. I don't feel good about it.
No, I don't. But also look at Oregon's defense, and I think they're gonna force Fernando into some interesting situations, and this does open up the opportunity for Dante Moore and them to split it open a little bit more on offense.
Losing the freshman Davison, the running back, is a big blow for Oregon, though. So.
Yes, I don't disagree. But you give Dan Lanning a second chance at a school in 1 year. Oh my God, dude!
He lost to Washington twice.
And just off the pregame speech alone, I'll be ready to run through a wall when that game goes down. So and I'll be honest with you, as we go out here, that's why I did pick this game to attend and cover this week, because I just think it's Fernando. It's versus Oregon. It's that rematch, and
it's the national championship game, Trey. Whoever wins this game, I am not picking against in the next game.
No, absolutely.
If Indiana beats Oregon after beating Ohio State and Alabama, and they're undefeated, they ain't losing to Ole Miss or Miami. And Oregon has been to the national championship game in every playoff format if they win this one and not gotten the job done. That is a hungry, hungry program. And yes, Dan Lanning is a psychopath in all the best ways, says QC. And I agree. I am picking whoever wins that game to win the national championship.
I know we're on the way out because I have to do something else too. But did you see Dan Lanning just taking a big old dump on the Big 12 in his pregame speech before Texas Tech?
I did not see that.
Oh, you got to go back and watch that, man. That was wild.
He wasn't wrong. Do you remember the Mike Gundy thing where Mike Gundy was like talking all kinds of shit about Oregon's roster management?
Yes.
And then they beat him like 75-0.
Yeah, I think it was 61-3 at halftime.
Yes. Dan Lanning, he remembers.
Oh, he's gonna remember.
No, I got Miami versus Oregon, which actually is a pretty good championship game. I think all the matchups could be good.
I don't want that game, man. That just does not.
Miami Oregon?
Like,
no,
okay. I don't trust Carson Beck, man.
Ole Miss versus Oregon, the Jeremiah Masoli Bowl. That's a deep cut right there. I think all matchups would be great. I think every matchup will be good. I think Indiana Miami would be like a 12-11 game, but I do think every matchup will be good in the championship game. So
I just don't want the whole narrative going into that game to be like, oh my God, Miami does not have to travel anywhere and they get to stay at home for a national championship. Like I don't want to. I don't care.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I don't trust Carson Beck.
I don't either. He's the by far the lowest quality quarterback of the four. Not even close. It's Carson Beck. Biggest questions there, but also maybe the best defense of the group. So we shall see. Should be a great weekend. Enjoy Thursday night. Enjoy Friday night. Safe travels to you, my guy.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you.
Getting in and around and all around all the country. To all of you guys listening, appreciate you guys for joining the conversation and being part of the chat. We love having you guys involved in the live program. Please tell somebody about the show. You can watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it on every podcast app of choice. We do appreciate all of you guys. Otherwise, ML Rose in Nashville, if you're in town, come check us out. It's great. It's a fantastic place to watch games. Take the kids. You got a dog park in the back.
The wings and ranch.
Awesome. You got the wings. You got the ranch. You got the burgers. You got the beer. The spicy cheese curds. Bro. Ridiculous. For Trey, I'm Braden. Happy New Year.
Cheese curds.
Happy New Year. And enjoy the semis. Have a good one, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
Howdy,